Do you think anything new happens to music, or is it a continual series of cycles? That maybe 100,000 years ago, somebody had the same kind of beat or the same kind of whatever it is that makes it different, and that maybe the whole thing is just going in cycles, or are we in fact discovering things all the time?
I think there's something to the cycle thing, but I think if you apply the cycle idea to it, that's a cycle for everything, not just music. But it's snowballing either with just because of electricity or because of all the garbage everybody picks up, because we keep inventing things, right? So it does change, and it has cycles in a way, like I think the whole whatever it is, the universe is a series of cycles. But the music has to change because they keep inventing new things.
And in the 80s, people forgot how to play it, People were pushing buttons or giving me a drum beat and a Smith. And because it's much cheaper to make records with a synthesizer, you got years of totally synthesized music.
Welcome back, everyone, as we continue with my first junket into the realm of dissecting and discussing various aspects of pop culture, with a particular emphasis this round on music. In this segment, we branch out even further into the various subgenres of pop music and turn up the beat as well as the volume. As you can tell by the sound of my voice, at the time I recorded this brief little introduction, I was in pretty bad shape. Regardless, I do hope you enjoy, and as always, thanks for watching. Pop music comes in many forms, some hard, some direct, some simplistic and vacuous, others fluid, amorphous, or surreal. Selection 7 on my list represents my first foray into the surreal, into a genre of music individually categorized as trance and psytrance. Trance music is an offshoot of house and techno, a genre which arose to prominence in the United Kingdom during the 1980s and spread throughout the rest of Europe during the 1990s. Trance music is characterized by repeating melodic phrases embedded within a rising tempo, designed to induce a sense of tension and subsequent release within the listener. I suppose we could compare that to something, but I'll stick with this. In other words, it appeals to the basal nature of the id, that part of the mind which governs innate instinctive impulses. Only it has the added benefit of being fun. Contrary to what critics of the genre may claim, trance music is layered and nuanced, with hooks, peaks, and depressions woven into a tempo lying somewhere between 110 to 150 beats per minute. At some level, varying upon user, trance music is designed to induce just such a state, a heightened consciousness one can become temporarily lost within. And again, contrary to what some may claim, a listener can achieve this state simply by listening. No manufactured assistance is required. Trance music does come in different forms, to include psytrance, deep trance, progressive, acid, and classical. Synth pop and club dance music, such as the Lady Gaga song featured earlier, contain elements of trance but are considered a separate genre. Collectively, however, trance music in all of its forms does share at least one commonality with rap and hip-hop, in that each embraces its own visual style, designed to express a connection to and an expression of the music. The distinction is, whereas the imagery of rap and hip-hop tends to reflect base expressions of anger and resentment, the imagery of trance tends to reflect an actual love for the genre, combined with colorful proclamations of the "we are the world" philosophy, all intermingled with indulgences of personal freedom and hedonistic pursuit. The one expression constant in the imagery of both genres is, of course, sexually themed exhibitionism. Although trance and psytrance tend to do that in less crude fashion. The imagery of trance is an expression of celebration of the human form without degradation of that form, all with particular emphasis on the female form. Often it is music you can watch. Not that that ever bothered me. Additionally, trance imagery tends to drift into the psychedelic, to include applications of the associated body art and clothing choice, or lack thereof, as it were. Trance music embraces and celebrates activity as well as beauty, and is often used as backdrop to video recorded by everyone from base jumpers to fire dancers to hoop riders or even fighter pilots. It is a bright, shiny world, a beast which is always moving but seeks to devour no one. Trance music fans traditionally see themselves as citizens of the world embracing life. Life expressed with all the colors they can find. Trance music is the realm of DJs as opposed to artists. It is the realm of bright twirling lights, writhing bodies, and the Burning Man. Trance music gatherings are more event than concert. Shared experiences of people present for the music wrapped in a giant freewheeling party, as opposed to a commercial buy my CD sales pitch exhibition. People do not go to a trance music festival because they hate something or someone else. They go to indulge different passions, first and foremost of which is a love for the music. And people have often asked me why I like to listen to trance music. At times I've been openly ridiculed for doing so, called names, labeled, whatever. The simple answer is I like it. For those who don't, I understand the criticisms that trance can be repetitive, unoriginal, repetitive. However, I always found the repetitive nature one of the allures when it is successfully combined with blended original melodies. It is energizing music, entertaining, all without the crudity and harshness of lyric typical with other music forms. As an example, to me, all death metal sounds like some guy vomiting into a microphone. But I understand not everyone feels that way. Some people, for some reason, love death metal and hate trance. I had a student in one of my 11th grade English classes, and Kim, I hope you're out there and doing well, who listened almost exclusively to death metal. We used to joke about the lack of rhythm, and then she would say, "What do you know? You listen to trance." So I get it, but me, I love trance and can't stand death metal. So I guess that's a win-win. Selection 7 on my list features a trance tune entitled "What's Up Hamburg," originally published by Feeding Spring on the YouTube page Side Trance Lithuania. It was then incorporated into the Progressive Trance Mix 2016 Light and Love, produced by DJ Daniel Nightstar. For those who enjoy trance and psytrance music, DJ Nightstar does excellent work. I have featured many of his mixes in my previous series of Warhammer Online videos, and never grow tired of listening to his productions. To me, What's Up Hamburg epitomizes the essence of trance music. It is fast, hard-driving, energetic, melodious, and nuanced all at the same time. One can listen to it, or one can become lost within. As I stated during the introduction for this video, a good song is a good song, regardless of what genre from which it hails. What you're about to hear is, at least to me, one of the best of this particular genre. Selection 7 on my list, Feeding Spring, is mixed by DJ Nightstar. Trance music which should get you moving.
play music. I smoke. And I drink. I was one of these plans to get a job. To get an education. To start a happy family. I'm sure that makes a lot of people happy. But I'm not one of them. Music is my life. Music is my life. Music is my life.
Now I realize everyone's taste in music varies. I've always been a little eclectic when it comes to music, which is why I can listen to Aerosmith and really enjoy it, and also listen to this. Because again, good music just sort of transcends genre limitations. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I always find listening to trance music a bit, I hate to use the word uplifting, that sounds kind of cliche, but I think the most important point to make about it is I can listen to this type of music, and when it's over, I'm not in a bad mood. Try that with death metal. Well, we're now going to move on to our next selection, and once again, we'll make another genre jump. Pop music shares at least one commonality with all other forms of entertainment, and that 90% of it is crap. Please allow me to explain. In 1958, science fiction author Theodore Sturgeon, in an article published in Venture magazine, wrote that science fiction conformed to the same critical standards applied to all other art forms, and when judged in that context, merely continued the established trend that 90% of all science fiction and all film, literature, art, music, consumer goods, and of course television was of equal low quality. In other words, 90% of everything is crap. I agree. One reason I believe the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been so successful is those who managed its development did so with an acknowledgement, at least silently, and a deference to Sturgeon's law. Similarly, I believe the primary reason the DCU is in such a shambles that those who managed its development did not. When applied to pop music, Sturgeon's law simply means And for every 10 artists who have a recording published, 9 of them are completely forgettable. Taken to the next logical progression, it further means that out of that 10% whose music may actually be memorable, only one of those artists will achieve true accomplished artistic status. Or, to express that ideal alternatively, become true legends in the music industry. One cannot discuss the history of rock and roll with any claim to intellectual honesty without citing the work of Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones. As an expression of Sturgeon's Law, without reverting to Google, attempt to name 9 other British bands who became active during the same years as the Rolling Stones. The only one which comes to my mind is Herman's Hermits. However, the fact I remember that name doesn't mean I want to listen to their music. During the 20th century, many pop music artists rose to the heights of the Billboard Top 100. Most of them, some sooner, some later, faded into obscurity. A noted few became legend, and selection 6 on my list features a song from one such pop music icon. David Bowie first broke into the top 5 music charts in July of 1969 with a single entitled Space Oddity. He would continue to periodically publish and release music up to and including 2016, the very year of his death. However, more important than simply crafting additional music, Bowie understood a basic truth concerning consumers of music. In other words, the fans. Keep providing the fans with something new and different, or they would quickly cease to be fans. Over the course of his artistic career, David Bowie continually reinvented himself, emerging time and again as a radically altered character, a new persona, each the result of a continual metamorphosis. He was more than just an artist. He was a polarizing and often controversial figure, a seemingly unceasing source of astonishment, amazement, and incredulity to his fans. He was extravagant in his expressions and tended to leave people guessing as to just who and what he truly was. Seriously, nothing more than a quick listing illustrates that point. Bowie began his career with the song and as Major Tom, then emerged as Ziggy Stardust. The continued progression included The Thin White Duke, The Diamond Dog, Aladdin Sane, The Man Who Fell to Earth, Perot, Giraffe the Goblin King, The Regular Dude, The Outsider, The Elder Statesman, and finally Meta Bowie. His music changed as well, morphing with his very persona to feature aspects of rock, soul, blues, plastic, synth pop, electronic, and even neoclassicist. He has been granted by many within the industry the title of music genius, a pronouncement with which I agree, furthered with a presumption that 100 years from now, provided the family of man survives as a civilized species, people will still be listening to and talking about the music of David Bowie. The music of those artists people will not be talking about is legion, and is all properly consigned to the dustbin of pop culture history. Now at this point, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone can tell a difference in the sound of my voice, there's a good reason for that.
I've been drinking, bitch!
Regardless, selection 6 on my list is, obviously, a Bowie tune I've always enjoyed. However, if this list were defined by those songs I considered to be the individual best of any particular artist, another selection would have been featured. Probably the Bewley Brothers or perhaps Changes, but I digress. First released in 1972 as the lead single for the album Aladdin Sane, Bowie referred to this particular tune as a smorgasbord of imagined Americana. Given the lyrics, one could easily dedicate a term paper length effort attempting to analyze that particular vision of Americana, and perhaps someday I will. However, for the moment, the song itself is enough. The Genie was recorded in October of 1972 in New York City at the RCA Studios, and later mixed at the RCA Studio B in Nashville, Tennessee. I included that bit because at one time I lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and have actually been inside Studio B. Bowie wasn't there, but still. The Genie has been described as derivative, plotting, if undeniably catchy by music critics. It features a blues riff in B, sets and maintains a constant and thumping tempo, and suffers from the virtue of just being fun. The song remained on the UK charts for 13 weeks, peaking at number 2. In the United States, it peaked at number 71, but to this day remains one of David Bowie's signature songs. David Bowie was indeed revolutionary. His vision of the music industry was unique for his time, and his music has and will continue to withstand the test of time. At least 90% of all other music artists can only wish they enjoyed that status. Selection 6 on my list, David Bowie and the Gene Genie.
Small Gene Genie snuck off to the city, strung out on lasers and slashback blazers, and ate all your razors while pulling the waiters, talking about Monroe and walking on Snow White. New York's a go-go and everything tastes nice. Poor little greenie. Ooh. Get back on it. Gene Genie lives on his back. The Gene Genie loves chimney stacks. It's outrageous, he screams and he falls. The Gene Genie, let yourself go. Sits like a man, but he smiles like a reptile. She love him, but just for a short while. She'll scratch in the sand, won't let go of his hand. He says he's a beautician, sells you nutrition, keeps all your dead hair for making up underwear. Poor little greenie. Ooh. The Gene Genie lives on his back. The Gene Genie loves chimney stacks. He's outrageous, he screams and he moans. The Gene Genie, let yourself go. So simple-minded, he can't drive his mudroom. Bites on the neon and sleeps in a capsule. Loves to belong. Loves to belong.
About your name.
Yes.
It's a famous thing now that your name initially, Davy Jones.
Yes, it was David Jones.
And in the 60s you had to change it because...
The Monkeys had a lot, and they were just getting popular when I was just starting my career, so I very wisely changed it to Tom Jones.
The Gene Genie lives on his back. The Gene Genie loves chimney stacks. He's outrageous, he screams and he falls. The Gene Genie, let yourself go. 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 The Gene Genie lives on his back. The Gene Genie loves chimney stacks. The Gene Genie, he screams and he falls. The Gene Genie, let yourself go.
What I attempted to do in constructing the accompanying video In context of Bowie's description of the song as representative of a vision of Americana, was interweave images from the life of David Bowie with imagery of various aspects of Americana. Except for the bullet train. I put that in because I thought it was cool. As all of you know, David Bowie died on January 10th of 2016. Given he had kept his illness a relative secret, many fans were shocked in regard to the apparent suddenness of his passing. The expressions of grief and sympathy were worldwide. But what struck me about the entire affair was this: his fans let him go in peace. Up next, we make yet another genre jump and try to just have a little fun. My high school years were much like anyone's, I suppose. I went to class, did my work, walked the halls, had a girlfriend, played on a football team. I never once had detention, believe it or not. But if I had, I doubt the experience would have followed these lines. Like practically every other American high school, we had a marching band. But for the 4 years I attended, I never once saw them perform a halftime show. This was due to the fact, during every halftime period, I was inside the locker room listening to our football coach hatch his halftime plans for winning the game. Therefore, honestly, I do not know how good or bad our high school band may have been, as I never saw them flaunt their talents. I do know this, however: had the girls in our high school band been similarly attired and performed in like manner as those comprising the marching band featured in the video of my next musical selection, the town we lived in would have imploded. Tell you what, we will come back to that. During the early 1980s, as part of the Chicago underground dance club scene, a DJ named Frankie Knuckles. Sounds like it could have been one of the lead characters on The Sopranos. That's a great name. But regardless, a DJ named Frankie Knuckles began altering and mixing disco tracks with mechanical drum and bass lines, and a new form of music was born. Dubbed house or club dance music, the genre gradually began to break free of its subculture restraints and spread first to cities such as New York, Detroit, and Atlanta, and eventually across the pond to the United Kingdom and beyond. Ever notice how the spread of music genres tends to mirror the spread of a virus? Regardless, by the 1990s, house music had become almost mainstream. Artists such as Madonna, Janet Jackson, Paula Abdul, CeCe Peniston, Kylie Minogue, Robin S., and CNC Music Factory were utilizing or had incorporated house music stylings into their work. The genre, of course, survives to this day. It continues to be the primary musical styling of the club dance scene. As all of you know, one of my earlier segments featured an extended and a perhaps discursive examination of trance music. I cite that because house music does share a few commonalities with trance, and that the beat is often the predominant component. However, unlike trance, house music is most often a melding of one song with another, as opposed to a completely original composition. Again, as an example, the early work of DJ Frankie Knuckles and Ron Hardy of the Music Box Club in Chicago often utilized bass lines and rhythm sections lifted from either disco or rhythm and blues tunes, mixed with elements of more modern pop hits, thus transforming them into what could be accurately termed a collage. House and trance also differ in that trance is, as I discussed prior, more layered and nuanced, and thus more complicated. House is typified by a simple if yet thumping beat combined with a catchy melody. House music is far more likely to feature a vocal artist as well. I suppose the manner in which I would describe it is house music is designed to get a club crowd moving. Trance is designed to be appreciated. The former is often easy to accomplish. The latter is not. Now, given none of us were there when house music as a genre was born, more modern examples would include Around the World, as performed by ATC, Put Your Hands Up for Detroit, as performed by Fedde Le Grand, and Ooh La La, as performed by Goldfrapp. The Goldfrapp tune I have utilized prior as background music for a Warhammer video I published some time ago entitled Lust. The song wasn't just perfect supporting material, it fit the theme. Regardless, other artists utilizing house music currently include the Basement Jacks, Daft Punk, Lady Gaga, Fragma, and the Kings of Tomorrow. House and trance as genres tend to differ not only in construction but in venue. As stated, house music inhabits the realm of the nightclub, dimly lit forums punctuated by flashing lights where people push to the floor and dance all over each other. Trance music embraces the open ground of the great outdoors, venues such as the Global Dance Festival at Red Rocks in Colorado and the Burning Man in Nevada. Of course, people dance at a trance fest. They just tend to do it in front of the camera as opposed to in the dark. Now, obviously, I'm giving away which music venue I most prefer. And truthfully, I favor trance music over that of house. However, as with the music of any genre, every now and then a song will defy the odds as mandated by Sturgeon's Law and achieve iconic status. Which brings us back to that high school marching band. As a consequence of its birth cycle, house music as a genre tends to share at least one other commonality with trance, in that the associated imagery tends to favor exhibition of the human form. Again, in particular the female form. Before anyone gets the wrong idea, I didn't set the rules. My position on the matter is, and has been for many years, I see little wrong with a bit of cheesecake imagery, as long as it isn't taken too far. Women are among the most beautiful creatures God put on this planet. I married one. As a red-blooded American male, I don't mind the sight of an attractive woman dancing to a good song, as long as some level of class or sophistication is maintained. The video which accompanies musical selection 5 for this list pushes that line a little bit. I do not feel it is crude, just highly suggestive. Imagine your high school marching band strutting around the field at halftime, playing their instruments as normal, only for the women, the uniforms were half the size. In 2007, Italian music producer Alex Gaudino released a house tune entitled Destination Calabria, a collage the result of mixing a saxophone solo with Denmark music artist Rune from a song entitled Calabria with the vocals from a Crystal Waters tune entitled Destination Unknown. The result was a true hard-driving and thumping load-the-dance-floor house track with an attitude, one which screams, "Turn it up." Released under the British label Data Records, it eventually peaked at number 2 in Australia, number 18 on the UK dance charts, and number 8 in the United States. Like Was Up Hamburg featured earlier, Destination Unknown, as the song later came to be titled, is most simply and eloquently a good song. Okay, fine. As good a pop music as pop music tends to get, but nonetheless captivating and energetic music worthy of both a listen to and an inclusion on my list. It is fun, and like the work of Gigi D'Agostino, Elke Klein, or Feeding Spring, can be listened to for no other reason. The video, however, is cheesecake on steroids. There is no actual nudity featured, nor any overtly sensual acts. It is all just heavily suggestive, and thus, given my intended target audience, requires a bit of censure. The video features 8 female dance artists simulating a performance as part of a marching band, in a manner which, at least back in the day, if done on an actual football field, would have led to metaphorical heads on pikes back in my old hometown. Think of the Robert Palmer video for Addicted to Love, only with 4 more women and much more movement. The end of the video features some rather poor computer graphics employed to morph the 8 ladies into hundreds, but I won't really hold that against the producers. What I will do is supplant particular video segments with other, less colorful fare, and attempt to highlight the music itself, which is what this list is really all about. Strap in. Selection 5 on my list of tunes meant to be played as loud as possible. Alex Gaudino and Destination Unknown.
Destination unknown, known, 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 known. I left my job, my boss, my car, and my home. I'm leaving for a destination. Destination unknown. Destination unknown. Follow me and let's go. Destination unknown. Follow me and let's go. Destination unknown. Follow me and let's go.
As it turns out, I didn't have to cut as much from the video as I originally thought I would. But then the trick concerning cheesecake is never eat the whole thing. Destination Unknown is a fun song, representative of the best house music can be. I realize for some people that may not be saying much, but I enjoyed it, and I hope you did as well. Up next we go back, way back in the time, to grab selection number 4. And, incidentally, to the outer reaches of the solar system.